bad bosses from the side of the employee. And to be clear, not every boss is a bad boss. Some bosses are just not well cut out to manage you. And that's a little bit different than perhaps saying the screamer who's always yelling at you and bullying you, and the sociopath who'd like to pull off your legs and watch you squirm. There are just some that aren't equipped with the skills to motivate you, and that's not what I'm talking about in the Dirty Dozen. But what I do want to talk about today is about companies and allowing this to continue. Gallup did a study a few years ago, and I don't think it's changed all that much, that 60% of the time the reason someone leaves your company is because of their immediate supervisor. Average in a white-collar job, average cost of turnover is about $75,000 an employee in terms of lost productivity and training. I think that adds up, don't you? That seems like a pretty good job just in itself that's getting wasted by a quality person leaving because they can't stand the person that they work for.
So there's still value in keeping your workforce, this even with the recession.
Even with the recession.
Because the people you have now are probably your most valuable, or you wouldn't have them.
Right. And take this a step further. If you wanted to talk longer term, companies are going to be in real trouble in about a decade. You've got Gen X folks like me who have already said, not putting up with this on any kind of a basis unless I'm a consultant that's coming in to fix it. And you've got those who are younger who don't have the loyalty of the older generations. They've seen downsizing, they've seen pay cuts, they've seen all sorts of things in government. So when we're talking about millennials and those who are going to be in the workforce next, they have no loyalty at all.
Well, they keep saying that there's going to be not enough people, so that helps too. Yeah.
Right. Because at some point, right now they're talking about how baby boomers have stayed in because
the economy and
because the economy, they can't afford to retire. But at some point, these folks start to get really freaking old. Yeah,
they get Alzheimer's and just gotta go.
So if Gen X has checked out,
you weren't my boss.
Yeah. Who the heck are you? Yeah. So you've got these folks who've checked out. They've not been brought up behind.
Right.
That's a problem. So you've got two things. You've got a short-term issue. Companies, short-term issue. If you allow that person to continue on and bully your staff, you've got a cost there that's associated with people not getting work done. Because now there's an energy that gets spent worrying about your job, right? So he's mean, or how do I avoid that person, or how do I get around it, or I'm just not going to talk to them. Whatever it is, you've now got energy spent trying to deal with this quote-unquote bad boss. And then you've also got the long-term ramification, which is this person probably isn't getting anything in terms of development. Now, so from an employee perspective, again, you've got somebody supervising you that is challenging for you. You've got to find ways to cope. I mean, there are really three things that you can do, right? You can leave and accept the consequences of that. You can attempt to get a transfer, and sometimes that's not as easy as it looks. Or you can stay, and then choice point at which you stay, then it's, okay, what the heck am I going to do here? So am I going to be miserable and I'm just going to check out and do the bare minimum, which, by the way, 75% of workers are doing.
Yeah.
That's a lot. That's 25% of people are doing the majority of the work.
It's worse when you're upset and it's passive-aggressive, because that's about the only thing you can do, because what are you going to do? Be assertive, like Nadia would say, and say, my feelings, you're making me, and if you make them feel weird.
Right.
Yeah.
In corporate, we can't talk about our feelings quite in that way.
Yeah.
And Nadia's right. You can talk about your feelings. There's a lot that's in most people's powers. They just don't have the skills to do it. Mm-hmm. So that's the point at which you find someone with some knowledge outside of your situation who can help you.
Like
me. Yeah. And not to be completely self-serving on that point, I can help with that. I can help create an action plan to help you feel empowered to leave, because a lot of people don't feel empowered. They just feel very victimized, and that's not a good place. That's a very depressing place to be.
Or they feel like maybe it's me.
Yes, yeah. That's the other one. It's maybe it's me. Maybe I'm crazy.
Yeah.
So definitely a gut check there. You can find a mentor. Maybe it's a peer of your boss who knows your work, whom you trust. Trust is a key, because we all know that there are consequences, especially in low trust and political environments. So feel that person out. And there are some things that you can do yourself. So get out your pens, folks. Step one, let's figure out whether it's really that boss that you don't like, or is it the job that you're doing. What I find with many of my clients is they flat out don't like what they're doing. So if you take an examination, look at your day-to-day
You're going to have
tasks.
a low threshold on anyone when you don't like what you do.
Thank you, Kathy. Yes, you have a very low threshold for much of anything if you're not liking what you do. Do you not like your company? If you don't like what your company does, you don't like the industry.
Boring.
Yeah. Or I find, financial services. We heard that example earlier. I'm in financial services, insurance. I feel like, for example, I think mutual funds are crap. So if I were to work, say, at a mutual fund house, I would find that problematic, because I'm propagating a product that basically goes against my value systems now that I know what it's all about. So financial services probably not for me in terms of a long-term career choice. So step one, figure out whether it's the job or the company that you don't like, or what you're doing or your tasks. And then from that point, you may be able to negotiate something different. And that's where Nadia's assertiveness starts to come in. And again, there are ways and there are ways. Throwing a fit, not as effective. Again, that's aggressive, is not as effective as going in and saying, hey, look, I'm really good at doing this and that. I would now like to do this because I'm better at it. So again, if you don't know, like Eddie was saying earlier, and he made a great point about being clear about who it is that you are and what it is that you're good at, and a lot of us build businesses and skills and careers around stuff that we don't like to do.
But it pays very good money.
But it pays the bills.
Yeah, that's how I pick some of my careers.
Right. Yeah, and afraid to leave again. Figure that out. And by the way, it's not as easy as it seems. There's a reason why there are so many of us out here who help you do that. I do some assessments around your natural talents and about your behaviors, the ones that you're good at and ones that need development. And a lot of times people have that aha moment, that vivid epiphany that says I need to be doing something different.
And you can help them even if they need a different skill set and develop that and go back to school. Some of it's going back to school.
Right. Yeah. And I can also help them figure out the language, because a lot of people are really afraid to go to their boss and ask for a raise or ask for a different job assignment, and figure out those communication skills. And that's inside. That's who you have to be to see yourself as the kind of person who can go in and ask for what you want.
Be your own advocate.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't see themselves in that role. So, and that's going to be important as time goes on. I mean, I think all of us know that there's the age of somebody bringing us up behind.
Otherwise, you become a hamster. Like, that you're doing the treadmill and you never move, because what's their incentive? Do they want to? If you do a good job at something, to me, they wouldn't want to move you over.
And there's that too. There comes a point when you're so good at what you do
that
they're afraid that you're going to leave a hole behind you. And again, that's a skill so that you don't hoard that information. And again, a lot of us didn't grow up learning these things, and we're not getting it in training, and we're not getting it set for us as an example in corporate. So going to that mentor, going to that coach, if you are fortunate enough to have a good boss, getting under that wing and really being, as Eddie said, and Catherine said, on purpose about what it is that you're doing. I think that's the biggest thing at all, being at cause and not effect, and choosing what you do on a daily basis to move towards your purpose.